Thank you so much for joining this webinar. What we really want to do is share valuable insights into how we make live optimization work for newbies and pros. And we're going to cover what we think live optimization is, what's going on in the landscape, what are the principles, what are the real benefits, and how to get started, and then how we can all connect. I'm the founder of Automated Creative. I set the business up kind of 6 years ago. And Amy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm the head of strategy at Automated Creative. So my job to make sure all of this stuff works with Tom. So great to be here today.
I just want to give you some context as to why we're doing it. So Automated Creative, we're a creative effectiveness ad tech platform. And what we love to do is help brands understand what are the written and visual elements of their ads that are driving the outcomes that they want. And our mission as a business is to eradicate the world where there are ineffective ads. So what we do as a business is we make and optimize ad creative using live data and insight. Recently, we analyzed 6 billion impressions for the clients that we've worked with. And we were able to prove that the value we bring is we can extend the reach of a brand's media spend by at least 17%. So we do that for the likes of P&G, Reckitt, Diageo, Mars. What we love to do is to help these guys get rid of their ineffective ads. But today's not about us. That's just the context in which we operate. So what is live optimization? This is how we see it. So the way ads used to work, someone would come up with a brilliant idea, they'd put it on different channels. And at the end of the day, they wouldn't really have the opportunity to make that ad better. They wouldn't really know why it worked. It was in the politest possible way, it was a lot of conjecture, a lot of guesswork. Whereas the space that we're in today, which we love and we're excited about, is this live optimization model, where what we're able to do is using different technologies like automation and AI is produce a lot of different ideas, a lot of different ads very quickly, put them on those channels and analyze the data and create new ads on the fly. So it's not a set and forget system anymore. What we're doing is testing a broad range of different visual and written triggers using different technologies to get real-time data into why brands' ads are working. In terms of understanding the live optimization landscape, so a little bit of history for those of you guys who don't know, back in the early 2000s, banners became a thing, very, very basic. And there was a new data started to emerge around user behavior online. And then a little bit after that, we saw the practice of DCO appear, where what we're able to do is test lots of different variations of an ad. And then it's starting to get real-time data introduced into this. And then sort of coming up the 2010s, there was some more behavioral data, what people were doing online, but also using this in the cross-channel area. And then programmatic came into there as well. This situation we're kind of in now is that we're in this real-time environmental and contextual data situation, but now all being AI driven as well. So it's been a long process. So where are we today? So Dan and Amy were on the call recently interviewed a large group of global marketers about their use of live creative optimization, and nearly a third of marketers do not optimize digital media in flight at all. So there's a huge chunk of the industry that are putting ads out, they're putting it in front of an audience and just letting it do its thing without any opportunity to optimize those ads. As I touched on earlier, the reality is if you don't do that, if you actually optimize your ads using live creative optimization, the extra media value that it's possible to add on top of that spend is 17%. So if you don't optimize your campaigns, you're potentially leaving 17% on the table. And so one of the reasons that we thought it was impertinent to run this session is that we get a lot of feedback from media agencies saying that Meta have told us that you've got to use 2 to 8 ads. That is the perfect number. And we find ourselves fielding this fact a lot. The media agency says, Meta have told us this is the case. But in reality, we've proved that around 36 to 37 ads is the perfect amount for awareness, and 14, 15 ads for conversion events are what work best. So actually the platform advice to brands is wrong by some stretch. And this is based on our data of analyzing over 6 billion impressions. So that's why, to answer the question of this whole webinar, why do you need so many ads? The reason is because it works. There is a proven business value where we can extend the reach of your media spend by working this way significantly. So I'll pass over to Amy at this point.
Great, thanks, Tom. So touching on that a little bit more, we know that this process of running lots of ad works. We have repeatable success every time that we do this. So why aren't more marketers doing it? So part of what we were trying to set out to do with our survey, which was done in partnership with the World Federation of Advertisers, was get under the skin of why marketers aren't touching live optimization. Broadly speaking, there's two key categories and reasons why people aren't touching this at the moment. And that's why we started wanting to get into this education space of talking more broadly about live optimization and why it's important and the value it brings. So number one was around time to decision. So we asked the question, do you feel that the information you have to make decisions around creative effectiveness mid-campaign is any good? And really concerningly, you can see the majority there. So around 61% just do not feel confident that they have the right amount of information in hand to make decisions in flight. So people are relying on that retrospective look back. They're waiting for PCAs. And we've seen instances where some of those PCAs may be 6 months, a year after the campaign launch, which means there's just not time and information to act on things in flight. The other big reason is that there are some people, happily, who do have access to that information and that reporting, but they do not feel confident in the ability to act on that information. We can see that it's actually time to action is the other reason. So you may have the information and the data, you may be looking at live reporting, but there's a real lack of confidence in a team's ability to action any changes based on insight that's gained in a timely manner. And now there's loads of reasons for this. We're all trying to do more with less. Everyone's across many more platforms than there used to be. But 53%, so that kind of 1 to 3 part, just really not feeling confident that they can actually action anything in a meaningful way mid-flight. And we can come on to some tips later on how you can address this problem a bit more widely.
So just to touch on some core principles, obviously Automate Creative have a very specific way of doing this, but what we try to do is create principles that anyone could use, either using technology you've got in-house or another partner. But fundamentally, advertising was just kind of so much easier before anyone knew if it worked or not. But in reality, now we have this technology in place that can really help us understand what are the psychological drivers of the actions that we want from our ads. So fundamentally, you need to have these things in place. So you need to have a strategy. So what we strongly advise against is having set and forget systems, whether that's setting and forgetting one ad, just letting it run and having it just perform or not, but equally using live optimization that doesn't want to do anything but live optimize. You need to know what you want to know about your audience. So fundamentally, your media spend can also be your research budget. If done correctly, you can use your ads to really learn about your audience. You need a technology. So there's Google and Meta have their own free live optimization tools, and they have their limits, but you'll need some kind of technology to do this live optimization. Could be Automate Creative, could be someone else, but you need a platform that's going to enable you to create ads very quickly, to tag those ads and to be able to report back on them. And finally, one of the things that we're most passionate about is insight, right? All of your live creative optimization ads should be telling you something about your audience. You're turning impressions into intelligence. So these are the three things you have. You could do all of this manually or take you a long time, or you could use a combination of in-house or different partners. So what are the benefits to doing live creative optimization? Firstly, is like production scale, speed, and ease. With the right technology, what you're able to do is to create any ad for any audience on any platform and get it live and get data and optimize that ad based on what is actually happening to that ad live in media. You can turn those impressions into intelligence. One of the other things from Amy's report is only 1/3 of marketers have any access to any live campaign data, which we think is a criminally small number, that people don't know what is happening in their campaigns as it happens live. One case study that we're super proud of is the work we did with Pension Bee. Now, this would come from a presentation that a CMO did on stage a while ago, where what he did is he said that the elements of the TV ad were re-recorded to include messaging and visual insights from Automated Creative. And here's just two creatives that represent a theme of having the app in the hand. And so the TV ad was just full of apps in the hands of their users. And what they did is they re-recorded the VO of the TV ad based on our best performing lines and themes. So what we're able to do is to affect the expensive media by doing testing in the cheaper media. So this isn't just about, hey, this is my best performing display ad or meta ad. It's insight that is so creatively valuable that it can affect other channels like TV. And the other benefit is, of course, performance. So I mean, we've delivered like ginormous improvements in performance far beyond kind of 17%. but you should be really getting a lot more out of your campaigns than maybe you are at this point in time. So I will pass back to Amy.
How to get started, how do we approach this? So I'm a strategist that has a really big belief in a strategy that can survive contact with reality. We are all working in teams, we are all working in projects where we're trying new innovative things. We know that actually process and making it bed in the first place is some of the most important things. We're doing this and integrating into new companies kind of day in, day out. And these are the repeatable things that we're seeing, that actually if you can have these things in place up front, even if you start with some really basic potential A/B testing or live optimizations in flight, if you get these things right, it becomes much, much easier to scale with time. So first up is know your end game. So what we mean by this is have a really, really clear objective for both your business, for your comms, and for the specific campaign that you want to be testing live optimization. The reason we say this is we are still coming across quite a few instances of overall objectives not having metrics that match them. So what I mean by this is maybe somebody's got a overall objective to increase the volume of new customers into a business, but potentially they're looking at something like volume of customers, where actually what they need to be looking at is new customers or value of customers. So it's really, really important that before you do any sort of optimization, you're really, really clear on the end goal and what it is that you want to achieve. From there, ladder back most obvious metrics to start tracking. And then from there, you can start your campaign planning. So next up, you need to be thinking about gathering the right squad. And this is all about having team members playing in position. So typically, you see in this little diagram here, we really like a triangle or kind of a triumvirate type structure. This could look like a few different things depending on the business you're running, depending on whether you're working with agency partners or whether you're testing things in-house. But what we'd recommend is you have one stakeholder who is focused on media, one stakeholder who is focused around creative and the kind of bigger creative mission, and then another stakeholder who's thinking about live optimization. And the reason for that is you need that third live optimization head to be thinking about what is good for optimizing in the moment. And it might be that that thing is a balance between media and creative. Because sometimes we find that having that kind of third party, that referee, it's something our clients play back to us quite a lot. We have a client, Mars, who refers to us as the Switzerland of their campaigns, because we can act in that more politically neutral campaign, because we're balancing the needs of both creative and media. So having somebody who's thinking about live optimization and about strategy is really, really important. Ideally, as a partner like us, but that is something that even marketers can play as that kind of triumvirate role within that three on their team as well. So having the right people around at the beginning is incredibly important. Number three, list out some hypotheses. So everything that you do when you're running live optimizations should be focused around answering the big questions for your campaign. So what I suggest is start with a brainstorming session where you're just writing out the things that you think you have as kind of gut feelings. As marketers, you're all going to have these hunches about the type of content or the type of things that you think are working for your brand or that you think people are responding to. That could be something like, I think a certain type of message works better. It could be a certain type of design style works better, or it could be something around audience testing. So think about the types of information and the types of questions that you would like answers to, and literally just list them out as questions. And then from there, you can start gathering them into tests and hypotheses and structuring that through time. But the really important part, and my favorite part of this, is number 4. So because we are running ads at scale, we don't have to pick one safe bet. So the really exciting thing is that you can test all of those hunches you've had, all of those different messages that you know that your brand wants to explore. But the bigger thing is you can throw in what I call the wild cards, the things that you think sit on the peripheries of the tests that if you were only running one ad, you probably wouldn't bother with because either they're a little bit risky or maybe they don't appeal to a really broad audience. But when you're doing lots of multivariate testing, and as you saw earlier, we can run up to sort of 30 ads for awareness campaigns at a time, you can kind of have these extra outsiders, the things that sit on the peripheries. And so often we find it's those things that actually drive performance because they feel surprising, because they feel new, and because they generate standout, particularly in a digital environment. So definitely write down all your hypotheses of all the safe things, but definitely have that room for magic and something else at the end that you can also throw in as well. So that means you've obviously got your hypotheses, you've got the things that you want to test and explore, but think then about data for decision making. So as we saw earlier, it's really important that you have access to data to make your decisions on based on the key objectives that you have. We've worked with clients who have had really, really slow reporting frequencies, which means it's just not been possible for them to do things live optimized at all because they're not getting that type of campaign data. The ideal scenario is what we do. We build dashboards and APIs into platforms, so we have live data coming through constantly. For anyone out there who is really familiar with the digital platforms, if you're spending time in Ads Manager for Meta, for example, you'll know it is not a friendly place to be. So anything that you can do that better visualizes data is immediately going to help you make better decisions as you go through. You've already decided what metrics matter at the start of this. So having that visualized fast and rapidly for the whole team is a really, really important thing to get going. And then finally, start is really important. So when we're playing with these different types of variations and testing things live, most important thing is just that you start trying it. It could be as simple as just running an A/B test, one message versus another message, and then you can scale it out from there. You don't have to wait for the most perfect possible testing opportunities. In fact, a lot of our larger scale clients have to start really small, run little pilots on certain brands, and then scale things out when they start seeing the results and success. So don't think you have to immediately turn this on for every single campaign that you're running overnight. Start small and then scale it out from there.
So if you'd like to reach out to me or Amy, there's the email address to the business. Thank you so much for showing up, guys. I hope you have a brilliant end of the year and a great 2024.